What story is this graph telling? That's a good question to ask when trying to read a graph, but it doesn't always lead to a satisfying answer. I recently came across this monstrosity and I had to be a bit annoying about it. The IFS does excellent work around public finances and taxes, but they also have the bad habit of using two y-axes in their graphs. I think this is bad because it makes things appear more similar than they actually are. I have strong opinions about this, so I redrew the graph using the same coordinates for everything. But before I show you the graph, I asked myself, what story is this graph telling? And it's not obvious to me. It could be telling a story of the proportion of taxpayers in different brackets in the population growing over time, but if that's the story that's being told, I think the graph as it is somewhat muddles it. Let's look at the redrawn graph. This new graph shows at least two things. First, that the proportion of higher and additional rate taxpayers is much smaller than the proportion of the population that's paying any kind of income tax. And second, it shows that that proportion of higher and additional rate taxpayer grows faster than the share of the population that pays income tax. Neither of these things were obvious in the first graph. Let's explore the fastest growing angle by drawing yet another graph, but this time using percentage changes. Note that I use log value on the y-axis as a decrease of 50% and an increase of 100% are equivalent. The first one corresponds to a halving of the proportion, and the second one corresponds to a doubling of that proportion. On this graph, it becomes obvious that the proportion of the population that's paying higher and additional rate of tax is increasing much faster than the overall proportion of taxpayers in the population. So I think both of the graphs that I drew tell a story, and both of them do this in a way that's clear and easy to read. This wasn't the case of the original graph. The first graph I drew tells a story of how most of the population of taxpayers only pay the lower rate of tax, and the second graph I drew shows how the proportion of higher and additional rate taxpayers grows much faster than the overall proportion of the population that pays income tax. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Is the IFS graph useful and compelling? Have I missed something obvious? Are the two graphs I drew useful? Thank you for watching. Bye for now.